I can already see comments like this coming from a mile away. Well, joke's on you. I wasn't gonna play this game anyway. In fact, I don't even know why I'm making this video. Maybe it's a form of Stockholm Syndrome or something, or maybe it's because my video got 100k views for some reason anyway. So how did my previous predictions fare? I did really great. I correctly guessed Sydney Sprint and GBA Snowland. I got Mushroom Gorge in the exact placement in the final release, and Waluigi's Pinball just one cup over. In terms of the tour tracks, while I didn't get them exactly correct, I actually paired New York and Sydney together in Wave 4. Going through the other tracks, SNES Mario Circuit 3 I went with 1 instead in the Boomerang Cup. I did get Calamari Desert, but in the Feather Cup. I didn't get Snowland, but I did guess Vanilla Lake 2, so that's pretty much the same thing. I didn't really see that track coming though, because there's about a billion other GBA and SNES tracks from Tour I expected first, of which Vanilla Lake seemed more likely as a snow course, but moving on. I also think it's worth noting I guessed Daisy Cruiser in another cup, which ended up just releasing on Tour just recently, and I'll probably come to this game later down the line too. I'd also like to point out the absolute abundance of DS, Wii, and especially N64 tracks. I really think they need to hold back on the N64 tracks for a bit. There's already quite a few in the base game, and pretty much every single track from 64 has been remade in the past, minus one, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that come into this DLC anyway. So I just hope it means that a GameCube track is coming soon, because it's definitely overdue. Going back to the tour tracks, people are treating me as if I were crazy for putting all the city courses in the first placements in the cups, but this wave pretty much has confirmed that they're doing that for the rest of the DLC. Since my last video, Bangkok and Amsterdam courses were released in Tour, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cairo or something along those lines would be included eventually as well. Those 3 courses would already fill up the remaining cups already. If anything, there might be some more city tracks released in Tour over time that wouldn't even be able to make it to 8. I guess this kinda rules out the theory of the Blue Shell Cup being just Rainbow Road courses, but hey, I guess that's still up in the air. By this rate, that cup will release 6 years from now anyways, so there's a while to go. What I didn't see happening was a brand new track being introduced, being Sky High Sunday. It's definitely the most notable announcement here. I wouldn't be surprised if it were to eventually make its way to Tour, as the anti-gravity kinda just feels haphazardly slapped on. It's strange though, because this game was marketed as DLC for returning tracks. Not that I'm complaining necessarily, I'm all for new tracks of course, it's just when this DLC was first announced, this could have included absolutely every track from Tour, ignoring the variations with the 2D courses, and it still would have had room for some new ones, but for every new track they're including, more and more are probably not going to make it, which I guess spices things up a little. I think there's also a bit of a pattern emerging here with this wave, beyond the first tracks being city tracks of course. It looks like so far that the last course of every wave will either be a brand new track like the Sunday course, or non-city themed tour tracks like Ninja Hideaway that Nintendo's just pretended never existed before for some reason. And that to me would mean that there are going to be 4 more of these unbranded tracks by the end of the DLC, of which would include Merry Mountain, and 3 either completely brand new tracks or future tour tracks. Or that is what I would have said if the courses hadn't already been leaked. And spoiler alert, these are predictions more so than my most wanted courses or anything along those lines, so I will be looking at these leaks. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend leaving the video now. Anyway, I'm not 100% sure if there's some dark web 16chan Nintendo hacker out there that's discovered some new leaks that I'm unaware of, and to be blunt with you, knowing how Nintendo went about the first wave, I wouldn't be surprised if the entire remaining lineup of tracks were data mined when Wave 2 releases. But as of now, and to my knowledge, there have been 2 major leaks for the DLC, one being data mined key art which shows a number of unreleased courses, and 2 being the assigned console tags / prefixes of every remaining track. I wasn't completely convinced about the second leak at first, maybe it could have just been leftover data being read wrong or something, but the second wave confirmed that it's completely accurate, well at least for Wave 2. So basically for the rest of this video, I'm gonna piece together these 2 leaks plus my own predictions to try to get as accurate as predictions as can be. First I'm gonna look at the second leak. To be fair, it could be possibly a little outdated. A lot of the tracks weren't assigned to any console, which could possibly make them placeholder tracks, and in the end Nintendo could change around a lot of these by the final release anyway. There is over a year to go after all, but for this video I'm just gonna stick with it 1-to-1. Here's what the courses have been assigned, and I will be using this as a template for my predictions. First impressions is that there's a remarkable lack of 3DS tracks, and considering my original theory that most of the tracks would be from Tour, hence 7, there only seems to be 2 more, which is really weird to me. I'd also like to double down on the fact that it confirms that every first course of every cup is from Tour, like I theorized in my first video. Next up is then combining this with the other leak, the image. Funnily enough, it actually included the Sunday course. I've just been super apathetic towards Mario Kart this entire time, so I guess I just never really cared to look into it. I'm not going to show this image for much longer in case Nintendo pulls my video down, but I'll go over a few courses that people have pointed out. It is pretty difficult to tell what a lot of these are, to be fair, and it also doesn't show every course, it's just the first 2 waves and I assume the following few. So it definitely doesn't leak everything, but it does help. So as I said, I assume that these courses will be in the earlier waves rather than later on because they have screenshots of them ready to go. The later tracks are probably still in development. So the few identifiable courses are GBA Sunset Wilds, GameCube Waluigi Stadium, maybe DS Delfino Square, Wii Maple Treeway, Wii Cooper Cape, Wii DK Summit, 3DS Rainbow Road, and possibly 3DS Rock Mountain. And yeah, there's probably a few others, but whatever. Before we fill in the Tour City tracks, I'd like to go over these, particularly the 2 3DS courses. The 2 remaining 3DS courses are in the Rock Cup and the Moon Cup, so it's very fitting to put in Rock Mountain and Rainbow Road 3DS respectively, it's too obvious. Next up, I'm going to fill in the 3rd wave with all the leaked courses that I can fit in, being Delfino Square and Sunset Wilds in the Rock Cup and Waluigi Stadium in the Moon Cup. Finally, we have the 3 remaining Wii courses, which are spread out across the Fruit, Bever, and Acorn Cups. So with all those filled in, let's put in the final leaked tracks and the very obvious ones being the City Tour tracks, all of which I've put in the first placement of every cup, obviously. There's no real rhyme or reason for any of these placements, honestly, mostly just trying to avoid clashing themes, and I put in Cairo in the last cup because I don't care. Next up is Daisy Cruiser, because why not? I mentioned it before, it seems somewhat likely. For the Feather GBA track, I've gone with Bowser's Castle 2, remnant from my predictions in the first video, and it isn't Tour, plus there's a lack of any Bowser Castle levels here. For the remaining GameCube courses, I put in Dino Jungle in the Spiny Shell Cup because it's in Tour, and Mushroom Bridge because I'm biased and I like that course, and also it's in Mario Kart DS, so it's not crazy to imagine it returning in Tour. Next is Luigi's Mansion for the Fruit Cup for absolutely no justification. For the SNES Cherry track, I've included Koopa Troopa Beach 2, because I realized that there's a complete lack of any beach levels in my predictions outside of the city levels. Next up, for the final GBA track, I've gone with Lakeside Park. It's relatively difficult to help balance that wave a little more in difficulty, plus there's no other jungle levels besides Dino Jungle, so why not? And for the final confirmed track, which also happens to be the very last course in the entire DLC, it is a Wii track, and I think it's pretty obvious what this should be. It's the very last track. It'd be strange if the DLC didn't cap off with Rainbow Road. So yeah, I'm going with Rainbow Road Wii. It'd be a great way to end off the DLC, and it's definitely one of the fan favorite tracks of the series, and it's personally my favorite Rainbow Road. Before I continue, I just wanted to question the whole Blink courses thing. Ninja Hideaway and Sunday whatever are labeled as Blink tracks, so I think it's fair, as I was saying before, that these courses could be Tour or new tracks. But the catch is, I can't imagine all of these courses being new. There's still 2 more identified Tour courses and about 7 more blank courses. I can't imagine them all being filled in, so I do think, especially in the later cups, that they are placeholders. So for the penultimate track, I decided that I think it'd be better if we went with a Bowser's Castle course. Obviously just to fit that pattern of having a Bowser's Castle as the second last course, then Rainbow Road. And I've gone with 3DS Bowser's Castle, mostly because there's a weird lack of 3DS tracks as I mentioned before. I've also gone with N64 Wario Stadium in the previous cup because it's obviously gonna be included. Okay, maybe not, but it is the last N64 track to be remade, and Nintendo loves Mario Kart 64 tracks. And surprisingly, none of the leaked tracks are from Mario Kart 64, so I think it'd be fair to imagine at least one more, and ending off the DLC with Wario Stadium in the final way is a good send-off, I'd think. And I guess you could also possibly put on another Bowser's Castle before Rainbow Road 3DS to continue that pattern. The only choices left would be N64 or Wii. And finally, I got bored, so the rest of the tracks are Merry Mountain. Goodbye.